Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Benjamin Norris about the YA audio fiction drama series Academy, which is going to be available to listen July 20th. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You know what? Right off the bat, it's interesting because obviously we're listening to this rather than watching it. I mean, does the mindset change from a storytelling acting perspective, or is it all storytelling for you?
For me, it's all storytelling. I think the approach to performing is obviously a little different. On the screen, you're consciously aware of where the camera is, your marks, where your scene partner is, whereas in audio, you're in a booth and there's a microphone, but you don't really want to change your approach too much because it's an audio drama. You want it to feel real. You want it to feel lived in. And when people are listening, you want them to be able to picture everything. And so, you've got to keep it as real and grounded as possible.
And, you know, in terms of getting involved with the project, I feel like in terms of how you got involved with Academy, I feel like, you know, standard stuff, there's audition processes, people kind of talk to, you know, your team and everything, but like, how much did you know about the project? Like, did you know it was an audio only project? Did you just know it was like a YA series? Like, I'm just curious about how much you knew before you kind of officially signed up for it.
I knew that it was an audio drama, which is one of the things that really excited me about the project, because I'm a big fan of audio dramas, podcasts. I produced one myself, and so yeah, that really excited me right off the bat. And then when I read the description, you know, of a scholarship girl coming into one of the most prestigious boarding schools in America, and there's, you know, it's high society, but it's high stakes, and there's mystery and there's romance, all of that completely, really kind of like entranced me. And I was like, I want to dive deep into this. I want to figure this out. So, I was really excited to do it. Yeah.
I think the coming of age slice of life is something I feel like that hits a lot harder now, because a lot of people see these characters, and like Never Have I Ever was like this as well, where they're doing kind of a lot of self-reflection and figuring things out episode after episode. And I feel like during the pandemic, we had 3 years of doing self-reflection because we had the time to. So I feel like they become more relatable and instantly kind of hit with audiences a little bit more, this slice of life coming of age. Do you think about that at all? Like, do you know what I mean by that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that is a great point. We all definitely did do a lot of self-reflecting. So I think that's a fantastic point. But I also think that YA is very popular right now. Coming of age is really popular right now because I think with the internet, young people really have a voice.
Yep.
And I think it's important to write stories that kids, young adults, teens, early 20s can see themselves or hear themselves, and they can relate to. And even if it's a story like this, where, you know, this is a school that is so prestigious that not many people get to go there. However, all of the insecurities and the fears and the dynamics, they're all relatable. Everyone can relate to this story in one way or another. So I think YA is, you know, I'll selfishly say I think it's definitely more important now than ever. And young people are going to shape this world and shape this country. And I think that I think they deserve good material, and I think they deserve not to be talked down to, but to you know, give them something that they can feel good listening to or watching.
Do you ever think about like the audience crossovers? Because, you know, there's a lot of Trent heads out there. You know, there's a lot of Never Have I Ever fans. And I feel like this is in the wheelhouse. You know what I mean?
I agree. I mean, look, there are a lot of similarities. There are a lot of differences as well. But I think that this audience is the exact audience who has an appetite for this kind of storytelling. Like I said, there's a lot of drama, there's mystery, there's romance. There's a lot of wonder in this show. So yeah, I think Never Have I Ever audiences are completely ripe for this.
Trent,
absolutely.
What a character! What a guy!
what a character!
That must have been so much fun playing a character like that, right? Simple as that, right?
It was a dream come true. Truly, it was a dream come true. I love him so much. I'll always love him.
It was crazy to see how every time a new season of that show came out, like it was an event leading up to a new series, like a season coming out. Like fans were waiting for like months, right? Like it was pretty crazy to see that, right? Did you get used to that after like season 3 a little bit?
Yeah, I think. Well, it's funny. I think season 3 was actually the first time that it really got to hit us physically, because we came out in the height of COVID. So the first 2 seasons, we didn't get to have premieres. We didn't get to have any of the stuff that other shows might have had. So I think season 3 was actually the first time we really got to tangibly see our, the effect that we had and the mark that we made, because then we were finally kind of able to go out in the world and see the impact that we had. So, which also kept it kind of grounded in an interesting way. So, oh my God, I'm so fortunate, so grateful for.
Yeah, no, we'll get back to Caden. Quick thing too about Trent, though, I wanted to ask: because like obviously you read the scripts for this, and there's a certain kind of mentality in mind with playing a character like this, because I feel like he is a lot more complex than people think. But like he is. But like, how was that like reading it in the script, Benjamin, and then going and filming it? Did it translate the way you thought it was? Did you see, like, I'm just curious about that.
That's a great question. Actually, it translated easier and easier as the seasons progressed, because obviously it wasn't just me fully forming the character, it was the writers as well. And I think we had this idea of what Trent was in the beginning, and I think he really transformed into something so fun, but also in a sense deep as well. Yes. And so that was both myself and credit to the writers, of course, for making all those fun discoveries and kind of peeling back the layers of the onion, which to transition into Academy, which is another thing that I really love about Jesse, is that he is so three-dimensional, and he's also an onion, and he's this kid who comes from all of this money, and he's very privileged and everything, but I think he sees himself as 1 foot out of the door. And even though there are times where I think he can lack some kind of perspective, I think he makes up for in opening up a little bit about his insecurities and whatnot. And I think Ava really helps him with that along the way. So different characters, but at the same time, layered and three-dimensional.
The layers. Every time I think of layers, I always go back to Shrek, right? Remember, do you remember that ogres have layers?
Yeah. And he's trying to say parfait, and he's like, no, an onion. And you know what? I go back to that too. It's so true. There's a lot of layers to an onion, and you know what? Onions might stink in the beginning, but they make everything taste better.
You're watching Shrek as a kid, seeing that whole scene of Doc and the onions, and you're like, this is school right now.
It was school. I think everyone thinks back to that scene. So thank you to Shrek.
No, absolutely. I find it interesting because, Popternative is now like a full media outlet, popternative.com and everything. Mm-hmm. But we started as a podcast. Like we started as a conversations in 2015, right? And everything. And it's kind of evolved. And I feel like that landscape of like podcasts and audio series and everything is just growing and growing. What is that like, getting to work in that space, knowing that it's constantly growing? Because I'm curious about that a little bit. We talked about the characters growing, but you're also working in an industry where like there's a lot of kind of audio series, there's a lot of kind of experimental things happening. So what's that like from an acting perspective, working in that space right now?
Well, number one, it's exciting, right? Because everyone's talking about it, everyone's listening, people are trying to find the next best great podcasts and whatnot. And one of the many things that's so special about this project is, from a technical standpoint, I mean, the production value is incredible. Like I was actually listening to it, and at one point a door opens in it, and I looked over to the door because I thought the door was opening. And I was like, this is exactly what we want from an audio drama, is to feel like we're in the space. Yep. And that's what it feels like. And so I really feel I'm excited that I'm kind of a part of this project that is definitely, pushing boundaries and whatnot, both with production, but also with its storytelling in general, and with the content in general. And so, yeah, it's a fun show.
Absolutely. And like before we wrap up as well, like, you know, July 20th is going to be the big day. The full series is going to be released, and there's going to be two ways they could listen to it. It's going to be ad-free on Amazon Music, but they're also going to be able to check it out on Wondery Plus, which is also exciting as well. When they get a chance to listen to it, we've already kind of established the slice of life, the self-reflection, everything. Anything else takeaway-wise you'd want? Because I feel like content right now has so many themes, so many messages. I watch and listen to things and like re-go back and I take away more things. Anything else besides kind of the obvious? Like, I hope they enjoy it. They will get out of listening to Academy.
Well, I think it shows that, especially since it's set in a high school, but there's so much going on in that high school, and I think I mentioned this before, but just the pressure on top of all these kids. I mean, it really seems like they're all acting on some kind of desperation to take that next step in life, but also at the same time fit in as much as they can at this moment in time. And there may be secret societies, and there are budding romances, and there's some danger in the show, which is also really exciting. And so I think, I want people to listen to this and understand that, even though a lot of the listeners might not be able to relate in one way to these characters, they can absolutely relate in another way, especially to the Ava character. Because I think, especially in America with our university system, we are so desperate to get into the best college and do whatever we can to get into that college. And so Ava does things that some people might say, well, why did she do that? But it's all just because of the pressures of our society, I mean, Jesse mentions capitalism at one point in the show, but it is a lot about that, and so I think it's exciting. I think it's relatable.
Like, there's a lot, like the conversations between the characters that you're listening to, there's a lot of like themes. That's the one thing I kind of took from it as well. Like they're bouncing around a lot, and dare I say, they're very layered conversations.
Very layered. Very layered.
Absolutely. And Benjamin, so great chatting with you, man. Thank you so much for coming on Pop Alternative.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So full series Academy, July 20th. It's going to be ad-free on Amazon Music and on Wondery Plus as well. Your Instagram account is just your name, right? Benjamin Norris?
It's Ben A. Norris.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, they just put Benjamin Norris, they'll find it. It's out there.
Yeah, they'll find it. They'll find it. It's out there. It's out there.
Well, this has been Pop Turner. YouTube.com/Pop Turner for previous episodes. PopTurner.com has other things as well. Academy, again, is going to be available July 20th, ad-free on Amazon Music and Wondery Plus. Until next time, it's Benjamin Norris and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.